Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tour Sports. I'm your host for the Orange Zone, Zach Pelfrey, alongside Luke Cattell, Colton Pennington, and Luke Lamery. We start by taking a look at the Vols' past few games since our last episode. Following the A&M debacle in College Station, the Vols are 3-0 with wins against Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. Now, with that being said, I want to turn it to you guys. Luke, give us a recap of the past couple games.
Yeah, I mean, the A&M game was quite a sight for sore eyes, to be honest. I mean, we started that game off so slow. We never led that entire game, which is unusual for the Vols. But A&M played well, so played surprisingly well. Wade Taylor played great, and they shot 50% from three in the first half. If you're shooting 50% from three in a half, like, you're doing something
it's
right.
Bad news, yeah. It's bad news for us.
It's going to be tough to win that game, and unfortunately we didn't. But past that, the Vols have looked great. We got dominating wins over Arkansas and Vanderbilt, and then we started slow against Missouri, but we pulled it together in the end and closed out strong and ended up winning that game. So 3-0 after, like you said, after Texas A&M game. I think the Vols are on the right track. Hopefully we get a little bit of revenge, this weekend against A&M.
Yeah, Colton.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Wade Taylor just played awesome that game. I mean, he was 5 for 5 from three, I believe, to start the game. And we talked about in the last episode about how Wade Taylor, I mean, he can score 30-plus points, but they have to have someone else step up because they were 1 and 4 when he did that. And Tyrese Radford was the guy that stepped up. He had more than 20 points. He played great as well. So that's just a tough game. It's on the road. But, then we go Arkansas, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. I mean, those are 3 of the worst teams in the SEC, probably these 3 worst teams. So, I mean, we played decent against all 3, not against Missouri in the first half. In the second half, we came back. But, we should beat those teams. I mean, it shouldn't really even be close. So now we go against Texas A&M, who are way better, and then we finish with a just incredibly tough schedule those last 4 games of the season. So we've got to keep this winning streak going if we want to have a shot to get a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament the first time ever. And I think we've got a real shot at that. So let's hope we can keep that run going.
If I can just add to your point again, I think for fans it was a disappointing A&M loss because you see these teams, other teams in the SEC, dominate them. And especially with it being in College Station, you see these teams that are in our division in our conference, just wipe the floor with Texas A&M after we just lost to them. I feel like that's tough for fans to recover. So I feel like that's going to be really important going into this weekend.
Yeah, Luke.
Absolutely, yeah. A&M was tough, and we started off slow. They started off slow too, but at the same time, when they picked it up, we couldn't pick it up with them. So it was really tough to see, and we kind of had the same feeling with Missouri. It was a game where both of us started slow. There was not a lot of points scored in the first couple minutes. I mean, there was like 10 points in the first 5 minutes. It was something really embarrassing. And, but when Missouri picked it up, we kept up there. So it was really impressive to see that. As for Arkansas and Vanderbilt, I mean, we shellacked them. We killed them. It was fantastic to watch that. But like you said, it's an important game coming up against A&M. I think we can handle them. We got some vengeance. We have a fire in us. I think we got it, absolutely.
Now, before we go to an A&M pick, if you could give us a grade for the entire basketball season as a whole, what kind of grade would you give the Vols right now?
It's a tough question because it depends on what was our view going into the season. But I'm going to have to give us a B+. And we've had a lot of we'll start with this. We've had some bad losses. Okay, we can look at. I think the worst was South Carolina. I think that was pretty bad. We can also look back at Mississippi State. That was really bad as well. But we've also had great wins. Okay, let's not overlook that at all. I mean, we dropped 100 points on Kentucky. Okay, and we can look back at some other fantastic wins. But at the same time, this team is so inconsistent. You don't know who you're going to see when you turn on the TV and watch the Volunteers play. And so I think if you look at the outlook, I feel like we had a high outlook, and I feel like it's been a little bit of a disappointment. I couldn't give us an A, but I'll give us a B+.
I think that's kind of the theme of this team is inconsistency. And Luke, I want you to answer this. What is the problem with Tennessee going on these road games?
Oh, it's like you said, it's just so inconsistent. And these road games for us have been our struggle. I mean, if we're talking about grades, I was right along the same thing with you. I put A- because this team has all the firepower that we need to go far. But we're struggling on the road. We're starting off slow. We're not, we don't look like the same team we do when we play in TBA. And frankly, going into postseason play with the SEC tournament and the March Madness tournament, those aren't going to be home games. So we can't rely on the TBA crowd to kind of spark that fire. I mean, we've only lost 1 game at home, which granted was a bad loss to South Carolina. But other than that, at home we've looked phenomenal. And then apart from the Kentucky game where we dropped 103, our road games just kind of looked a little bit shaky. And I'm not too happy with what I'm seeing from the Vols on the road. So I think they definitely need to pick it up. And like I said, going into March Madness, if March Madness was in TBA, I would have full confidence that our Vols will be bringing home a national championship.
Oh, yeah,
Based on how the
absolutely.
season's gone, if we're playing all of March Madness in TBA, we've got a great shot. But with these tournaments on the road, it's going to be definitely very interesting to see how the Vols react to not playing in TBA.
Colton, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about our struggles on the road, but every team in the country struggles on the road. So it's not like we're different than anybody else. I mean, you know how many teams this season have lost to an unranked team on the road in college basketball?
It's been quite a few, yeah.
All of them.
All of them.
Every single one. Not
Oh
one
my
has
gosh.
not lost to an unranked team on the road so far this year. I mean, Purdue lost to Ohio State this week.
Right,
UConn
right.
lost to Creighton by 20 the other day, and those have been the two best teams in the country all year. And I mean, sure, we don't play at TBA in the tournament, but nobody plays at home in the tournament. They're all neutral site games, so everybody's got to do the same thing. Everybody's been struggling on the road, so as long as we can, I mean, we've got Dalton Connect, who's one of the best players in the country. We've got so much experience on the team as well. If we can, I think we've got a great shot going into the tournament. The best shot we've got in a really, really long time. Our offense has been pretty consistent. We've had a couple games here and there where we haven't been so good. Missouri the other day was obviously one of them, but if we can keep that offense consistent and keep our defense the way it's been for the last couple of years, I think we've got a great shot in the tournament for sure.
Well, lucky for us, the tournament doesn't start right now. And we have A&M coming into town after losing by 20 in College Station. So if you guys could give us our picks, who are you taking, Luke?
I'm taking Tennessee here. I think that we have a great shot against this team. We have a vengeance. We know their strategies. We know their game plans. But we've got to relax. I feel like if we get out too slow and then we panic when they come up on us. And so I think that if we can relax a little bit when we face some adversity, I feel like that's the key. I feel like it's a common factor in the games that we've seen is that we start to panic and we say, okay, Dalt, go chuck up a three and see if it goes in. And so I feel like if we can, take a deep breath if we face adversity, we have a fire in us. Like I said, we know their game plan. I think we've got it here by a considerable amount.
Colton?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this game is at home. I mean, I know we lost to A&M big on the road, but A&M has not been a great team all year. We got this game at home. We should come in ready. And I expect honestly a 15, 20-point win possibly.
Oh, wow.
With this team. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, look at how we played against Ole Miss and LSU and even Vanderbilt the other week. I mean, we've just destroyed all these teams at home. And A&M is maybe a little bit better than some of those teams, but I think they're around the same level, and I think we should see a similar performance for sure.
Luke?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with all of you guys. I think since this game is at home, and since we've already played this team before, we're looking for vengeance. They got us the first time. I think the Vols are going to take this one by a considerable amount. But the thing with the Vols in this game for me is that we got to control the pace of the game. We do such a good job of controlling the speed we play basketball at home, but when we're on the road, it kind of feels like we're just subject to how the other team wants to play. So I think since we got them coming to our house now, we're going to do the same thing they did to us. I got the Vols by at least 15, like you said.
Well, I think we're all in agreement here. I also have the Vols. I think A&M's got a great defense, but I think that taste of defeat is going to sit in the Vols' mouth, and they're going to want some revenge looking on. But like I said, that is all the time we have for Orange Zone. Now we are sending it over to Riley with Rocky Talk.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to this week's edition of Rocky Talk. I'm your host, Riley Haltom, and I'm joined by two of our best, Caitlin Gill and Matthew Slitsky. Last week was the All-Star break, and fans have some mixed feelings about the competitions. Steph versus Sabrina three-point contest, it was a hit, but the All-Star game and the dunk contest left fans wanting a lot more. Matthew, what's wrong with the All-Star weekend, and how are you going to fix it?
There's so much wrong with it. I'll start with Steph and Sabrina. Without a doubt, the highlight of the weekend, right? That did so much for women's basketball, for Sabrina Ionescu, who, for those of you that don't know her, is one of the best players out there. I think she might be better than some NBA players, Thanasis Antetokounmpo included. With that being said, I think you're looking at maybe one of the worst All-Star weekends as a whole, right? For a variety of reasons. One, for the All-Star game, there was no competition. You had no competition. A lot of that is because you used to have a target score that was introduced in 2020, and now you no longer have a target score. Players are not competing to a certain score. There's no reason to play defense. There's no reason to make it competitive. So you go back to a target score, I think you fix the All-Star game. Two, what happened to having All-Stars and box office players in the dunk contest, right? What happened to Akeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Vince Carter, right? The best dunkers out there, they also happen to be All-Stars, but they go hand in hand. What happened to having the best players, the best dunkers, and the best All-Stars out in the All-Star game? Now, Jaylen Brown's an All-Star, but he was easily the worst of the four. worst of the 4. The only 2 NBA players were Jaime Jaquez, a rookie from Miami, who did better than Jaylen Brown, even though he finished last. Again, that is everything to do with him being on the Boston Celtics and the popularity. But 2, you had 2 G Leaguers there. Now, Mac McClung is great, right? But Toppin is from the G League. Nobody knew who that was before, aside from the fact that he's Obi Toppin's brother, right? And 2, he didn't do a good job. Right? Nobody wants to see that. Now, LeBron, I would say, ruined the dunk contest primarily because right when he got in the league, he was asked to do it. He's one of the best dunkers to ever play the game of basketball and said, no, I'm not going to do the dunk contest. And from then on, you started to see a trend downward in the dunk contest. So there's a lot you could do. The three-point contest I thought was good. There's not really much to improve that. I thought the players were good. But all in all, you got to figure out a way to make the All-Star game more competitive. Like I said, I'd go back to the target score in the dunk contest. Let's get All-Stars back into it.
Yeah, to your point about Sabrina, she tied the winning score from the three-point contest this year with Dame. I think it was 26, right?
Yeah. They should put her in the actual three-point contest game in next year. Because I think she could totally win.
That'd be fun.
Without a doubt.
Caitlin Clark, Damian Lillard. That's my next year matchup.
Also, Caitlin Clark and Damian Lillard against one-on-one?
No, for the three-point contest.
Oh, for the three-point contest.
Because Dame won, then it's kind of like competing for the title. Yeah. Also, what did Thanasis do to you?
Thanasis is one of the worst players in the NBA. Thanasis, look, there is half the people on our set I would pick to take him on one-on-one and they would score a point. He's truly that horrible at the game of basketball.
Dame said Thanasis would beat the haters one-on-one and he'd beat you.
He would not be. Who would beat me?
You think you could beat Thanasis?
I would beat him one-on-one any day of the week.
No.
Any day of the week I'd beat
he
him.
has such a good energy.
Any day of the week.
I
would beat the guy that only has a contract.
How about the
And
All-Star weekend,
me
though?
personally, I loved the All-Star game because of all that Wisconsin power.
you
I
would.
did not know Tyrese Halliburton is from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I was wondering why he was so cool, and then I realized it's because he's like me. You know, it just runs in our blood.
Yeah. You two are on the same level. That's right. You two go hand in hand.
And Dame, he is the first NBA player ever in history to win both the three-point competition and All-Star MVP, and I was sweating out that MVP race, okay? Halliburton, 32 points and 10 three-pointers. Damian Lillard, 39 points and 2 half-court shots. Was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Loved it. And
Sucks they only count for 3 points still.
True, it should be 4. But to your point about the dunk competition, this is very harsh and very mean. But I'm a little confused with the Max McClung situation because how is a G Leaguer, number one, beating the NBA players in the dunk competition? And number two, McClung's won it back-to-back. Why is he not in the NBA at this point?
Well, because dunking doesn't translate into being valuable on an NBA team. Now, McClung's certainly better than Thanasis Antetokounmpo.
Bruh,
but
what
if
is he
you
doing to
put-
catch those
If
strings?
you put
That's
Mac
ridiculous.
McClung on an NBA basketball team, he wouldn't play because he doesn't provide value outside of dunking. So
Fair.
unless the guy's going to average 10 steals a game and get on fast breaks, he provides no value to any NBA team. I wouldn't even say he provides value on a Detroit Pistons team, who is shaping up to be maybe the worst team in NBA history.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Mac McClung aside, now that the All-Star break is over, the trade deadline is passed, and rosters are all but set. What are your predictions for the postseason? Caitlin?
Okay, I really don't see the rankings changing. I think the Celtics are a steady 1 in the East, and I'll keep them there. And then in the West, I have Timberwolves. So I feel like those are going to be the 2 concrete. And I don't have the Bucks as number 2 either. I have them falling to 3, and they're scaring me a bit. I don't know what's happening. Doc Rivers is talking about everyone and everything. He literally said he talked to the Bucks organization and asked why he was hired and why Adrian Griffin was leaving, which is concerning to say the least because I don't even know if he wants to be here at this point. And I'm really scared. Like it could shape up, and now Dame's got a lot happening off court that I think maybe the All-Star weekend will hype him up again and make him feel better. But Giannis is a steady.
He's not sick. It would make him feel better. He's not like he's sick in
He went
bed
through a
and needs to wake
divorce.
up. Yeah, but he's not like dealing with the flu here.
Oh, I hope he feels better. I'd be pretty depressed too.
Well,
Anyways.
I agree. I think
Yes.
Milwaukee should be 3. I think.
But
Boston
Doc
1 is
Rivers
good.
needs to zip it, and I think Giannis will carry us. Do I see us? I see us probably maybe going to the finals. I don't know. This is the first time I've never been confident in the Bucks, and I'm really, really scared. But I hope the All-Star break. We still got another half to finish it out, so we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling good.
I wouldn't feel good about the 3-7 Bucks in their last 10 games either. They have almost zero chance to move on past the first round if they continue to play at the level they're playing at. Look, I agree. I think Boston's won. I have New York moving up. I think they're as good as anybody in the NBA. I think they're certainly capable of winning a championship. So look for New York to make a big run. I'd have them at 2. Milwaukee, I would keep at 3. And Cleveland, dealing with a lot of injuries, going to slip down at 4. And then I've said this since the beginning of the year. There is no team better, depth-wise, talent-wise, than the Philadelphia 76ers
Yeah.
when completely healthy. There is nobody that can beat Philadelphia because there's nobody that can stop the greatest player on the planet right now in Joel Embiid. So without Embiid for a long time, I'm going to have Philly slip down to 5. As long as they can get healthy heading into the postseason, I think they're in great shape. And Miami moves up to the 6th spot while the Pacers slip to 7 and Magic at 8. Look, Philly, I said at the beginning of the year, I think they can win an NBA championship. I truly believe that. I think they have the best team in basketball. Now, on the Western side, the Clippers have played as good as anybody, right? So I have the Clippers and Philadelphia in the NBA Finals. But with that being said, there are so many good teams in the West that could easily beat the Clippers, right? You have the Nuggets, who I'd predict go to 2. Minnesota, who's been great, and has Anthony Edwards, easily the most improved player of the year, in my opinion, at 3. Thunder at 4, who's as young and as talented as some of the best teams in basketball, right? Suns at 5, Devin Booker, KD, and of course, can't forget about Bradley Beal and the Mavericks at 6. There's a lot to like about Kyrie and Luka Doncic. 7, we saw what the Kings did last year. Give me the Kings at 7. And the Pelicans, if Zion's healthy, they have enough talent to be number 8.
Very fair. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit for maybe the most interesting debate I have seen in a very long time. Following the Super Bowl, Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp argued on First Take over which GOAT debate is closer, Brady and Mahomes or Jordan and LeBron. Starting with you, Matthew, who is the GOAT in each sport and which is closer?
I didn't know we were going to go into who is the GOAT. Well, LeBron, I think, is the GOAT of the NBA. I think LeBron's a better player. Shout out Ohio. LeBron is a better player than Michael Jordan, and it's very close. It's a lot closer than people think it is, but if you go down the accolades, you go down the who's at the top of assists, points, minutes, field goals, etc., LeBron's at the top of most. The only thing that I give Michael Jordan from a statistical standpoint outside of more championships is Michael Jordan didn't turn the ball over. LeBron's number 1 all time in turnovers. Michael Jordan, I think, is number 13, which is extremely impressive. Nobody talks about it. The guy never turned the ball over, and he had the ball in his hands most of the time, right? So you factor that in. LeBron's one of the certainly a better passer. So there's a lot that goes into it. LeBron, I think, is a better player of all time, but I know that's not why we're having this conversation, so I'm not going to get into it. But Tom Brady, might be the greatest athlete of all time.
Agreed.
Right? LeBron, Mahomes, and Michael Jordan are not in that conversation of greatest athlete of all time. Tom Brady certainly is. He's up there with the Michael Phelps, the Serena Williams, right? So when you're comparing the two, you got to figure Mahomes is nowhere near what probably is the best athlete to ever play professional sports, right? So that's one. So without a doubt, LeBron and Michael Jordan are closer than Mahomes and Brady. But don't forget that even though Mahomes doesn't have as many rings as Tom Brady, Mahomes is doing it a lot quicker than Brady. And I think that's important to note, and I also think he's doing it with less talent.
Could he pass him?
Yes.
That's how many more years he has in the league.
He's so young and he's just starting.
So young. So is Jordan Love, right?
He's won
The
3
GOAT! If we're talking GOAT debates.
He's won 3 rings before Peyton Manning won his first.
And, okay, if we're getting into Patrick Mahomes, he has 6 years as a starter, and he's never done anything less than an AFC championship, which is absolutely incredible. And this truly...
He's outstanding. He's one of the best. He's
And
already one of the
he's-
best to ever throw a football.
Like,
already.
If y'all looked at quarterback documentary, like his agility as a player and how he trains his body, I definitely do believe that he's going to be in that conversation of best athlete. He is incredible, and you're right. He's doing it with, well, Travis Kelce wasn't really Kelceing during the regular season,
right.
but it's true. He's doing it with a lot less weapons, and he's building a dynasty just as Tom Brady did.
Yep.
And I do agree in terms of basketball. I don't know. I'd say LeBron, obviously statistically, but Michael Jordan undefeated in finals. That's pretty hard to beat. Brady,
irrelevant.
7 rings. Do I think Mahomes going to catch up? I don't know, but I don't really think it matters, honestly, in that debate. Mahomes is just Mahomes. And that's all I can say. I mean, he's just incredible what he can do in the postseason, just like Brady. And I see that debate probably shaking up over time. I could see Mahomes passing him.
I think it's important to note, not only is coaching at a different scale, I think Belichick, without a doubt, is the greatest football coach
Andy
of
Reid's
all time.
pretty good, too.
Reid
and up
is
there.
extremely good. Don't get me wrong, right? But when you're comparing the two, like Mahomes always has Kelsey as his number two, right? Tom Brady, in his case, whether it was Gronk, whether it was Edelman, he always had his weapons whenever he needed it, on top of a Hall of Fame coach, maybe the greatest to ever coach all time. So I think you kind of have some advantage if you're Tom Brady. But head-to-head, Tom Brady versus Mahomes, we've already seen that battle.
But
We've
that's a
seen that
little, I
battle,
don't know
and
how
Brady
valid
was at the
that
end of his
is.
career. Sure, it's valid. Brady
well,
was at the end of
Mahomes
his
is so
career,
much younger
and Mahomes was at his prime.
Exactly. Brady's at his peak. He's done all he can do
And
as a
he
quarterback,
still
as
won.
an athlete. Yes,
Mahomes
but
wasn't
Mahomes is so
playing-
much younger.
Mahomes wasn't playing cornerback.
Yeah.
Mahomes wasn't playing cornerback.
No, you're not listening. You're not listening. Both of you,
No.
trouble hearing. Listen.
You cannot
No.
say that is valid. Brady
It's-
meeting
sure it's
Mahomes.
valid.
Yeah,
It's
for right now, but it's not a
100% valid.
debate in longevity.
Tom Brady won
That's going to
with
be nothing
Evans,
in a few
and that
years.
was it.
Mahomes
Evans and
hasn't
Gronk
even
were the
hit his
best two
peak.
players on that team.
Mahomes hasn't
has-
even hit his peak.
Mahomes does have more playoff wins now than Manning did in his entire career.
Who cares about Manning? We're not talking about Manning.
That's another guy.
Irrelevant.
That's another
No,
guy that's
no.
often in the top
He's
five,
not
top
in the-
three
he's
conversation.
He's not in the conversation. You said
Peyton Manning.
Mahomes and you said Brady. No one said Manning.
And we're
okay?
talking about Mahomes.
And so why are you talking about
But
Manning?
he's saying Mahomes is valid in the
No.
sense of he's already done
Wrong.
things other quarterbacks have.
Okay. Numbers. Without a doubt, Tom Brady is one of the greatest athletes of all time.
We're not denying
Mahomes
that.
is not even close to
That's
that.
not true.
It's not.
That's not
so
true.
you think Mahomes is already a top 5 athlete of all time? Because I can name 10 people that
maybe
are
not
top 10
all
athletes of all time,
but
and
in
Mahomes
terms
is
of
not on that
football,
list.
in terms of football
We're not-
quarterbacks,
No, you
Mahomes
can't-
is top 5.
He's top 5 quarterback of all time, sure.
Yeah.
Athletes of all time, he's
Well,
not
we're
even
not
in the
talking
top
about
50.
athlete. It's Brady
He's not even
and
in the
Mahomes.
top 50.
It's Brady and Mahomes as a quarterback.
And
That's
they're
what
not-
we're
and they're
evaluating.
not close.
Mahomes as an athlete
They're
is
not
incredible
close.
too.
They're not
they
close.
are extremely
They're
close.
closer than people
Well-
might think, but they're not close.
That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Rocky Talk. Now we're going to go to Allie for a deeper look into the All-Star game.
What's up, Vol Nation? I'm Allison Seaton, and I'm here with Alexi Cohen, Brendan Green, and Jay King. We're here to break down the controversial NBA All-Stars game that took place on February 18th. To start us off, I want y'all to give me your overall opinions on the All-Star experience this year. Alexi, go ahead and take the lead.
I'm going to be honest with you. I fell asleep halfway through it. I know that's awful, but I thought it was a little underwhelming. The only part, I'll be honest, the only part I really loved was Chuck and Draymond going back and forth. I love those two. Obviously, I love Draymond, but I was a little mad that the best player in the NBA right now did not start, Steph Curry. I thought that was a little ridiculous.
I don't think he's the best player in the NBA.
He is.
I think there were better options for him
What
to start.
better options?
I know he's a more marketable player, but at the same time, we're talking about the 5 best players.
I didn't have problems with the West starters.
Yeah.
I had a problem with the East one, just because I thought that Brunson should have started over Dame, just in my
Definitely.
opinion.
I do think that.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right, well, so Brendan, there's been some controversy about the All-Stars not actually being too into the game. Do you think that's a real problem?
I honestly don't know entirely what we could do about that. It's just the reason why that you see that there's not much effort put into it is just because of player injuries. Players don't want to try their absolute hardest to play in the All-Star game just because we just saw the NBA do its 65 game restriction. You have to win MVP by playing 65 games at minimum, and we saw Embiid already lose his right to be MVP, and as well as Halliburton. But they just don't want to risk injury. They don't want to put too much effort into injuries. If they get injured, it might affect them and their team for the last few weeks, because after this, it's 8 more weeks until the end of the season and the playoffs. So they just don't. That's why they put little effort. That's why they take half-court shots to over 200 threes. That's why the East had over 200 points. and it's just I feel like it's just unfixable. And yeah, if I were to change a little bit, I guess I'd just go back to like how it was before with the target score. I think it was like first to 157 or something. Like the 2019 one where like they had it was like really no the 2020 one where they had like it was like really competitive up until like the last in the last few minutes. So yeah, that's my take at least.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the like target getting to 200, I thought that was actually kind of cool personally. I know everyone was like, oh, it's boring when you see it get to 200, but I think just the fact that it happened for the first time was really cool to see.
I don't know if there was a target. Was there a target score?
There was a target score last year. Yeah.
There was last year it was, but this year I don't think there was a target to 200.
Don't go too into that. We're getting there soon. I promise.
And another part about just All-Star games in general, this isn't just an NBA problem. Like the NFL just straight up got rid of the Pro Bowl game, and the NHL All-Star game, like the goalies don't even play in that. I think the only All-Star game that like actually has the players like playing is MLB, but
I don't think I've ever watched any of the other like sports.
Yeah, I mean it's a problem throughout every sport. Personally, I know just because the NBA All-Star game happened recently is why it's such a big talking point right now. But it happens with every sports league.
I mean, I get what you're saying about the reason it's not being taken seriously with the injuries and stuff, but people are paying to watch this. I mean, I think they should step it up a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying go out do a drag fight. Like, I'm not saying fight each other. But, I mean, if you play the game well, you're not going to have bad injuries. But I do see what they're saying. But I would say, to make it more interesting, I'd like to see some, like, challenges or something during the game. But that would be hard to pull all together.
No, I was just thinking about the fight, like a Malice at the Palace at the All-Star game. Just thinking about that.
All right, well, you guys mentioned the other contests they had going on. There's been some mixed feelings and, like, opinions about the dunk and the three-point contest. Jay, do you think it's lived up to the expectations?
I think the three-point contest personally lives up to the expectations every single year. I mean, you get you see what you get. You know what I mean? Like you go in, and it's the same thing every year. And I don't think there's really a way to fix it. I don't think it has a problem though. It's just like it's fun to watch. It's very fun to watch, but it's not like it shouldn't be the headlining event. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the Steph versus Sabrina three-point competition, though, was a genius move. I think that was a fun way to grow the women's game and show, hey, there are people in the WNBA who are great shooters, too. I think that was awesome to see. But the dunk contest itself was not good this year. I think everyone knew that.
What was up with the judge selection of the dunk contest? I don't think that was a good selection.
I mean, I don't think so either. But, I mean, going into it, everyone was talking about, oh, we're just going to blame LeBron because he
still hasn't played.
Yeah, he still hasn't played the dunk contest. It's all LeBron's fault. And, everyone's talking about, there aren't any all-star games during the dunk contest. Last time I checked, Jaylen Brown was an all-star, and he did not show out. He really did not.
We went from Blake Griffin dunking over a car to Jaylen Brown dunking over Kai Cenat.
Yeah, it wasn't impressive at all.
The problem is not the fact that there are no all-stars. To me personally, I think the problem is that we're just running out of dunks. Like the 2016 dunk contest, the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest, I think that honestly ruined it because of how like the game itself, that was perfect. It was perfect. And after that, there was nowhere to go but down since then. And another note about the dunk contest, maybe just take a year off or something like that. This happened in 1998. It was considered one of the worst dunk contests of all time. If you don't know, look up the 1998 dunk contest. It was not good. They took a year off in 1999. Then we get to 2000. They bring it back. And then Vince Carter puts an absolute masterclass in the dunk contest. He has the greatest singular dunk contest performance of all time. You've probably seen the clips. I think do something like that. Maybe for next year, just do a game of horse or something like that. Do a game that requires basketball skill without actually having to dunk it.
I think we've just gotten to the point with the dunk contest where it's been like we know that they're dunking, so it's not like we're anticipating it.
Yeah.
Like a great example of like a perfect dunk you can think of is like, I think it's that Nuggets Suns game last year when it was like in overtime. You had Aaron Gordon just absolutely just, I don't know who he dunked on, like, but he just like, if you look up the clip, it's like whoa. It's just that. Or Wemby throwing this year with Wemby throwing the ball off the glass and just slamming it in himself. Like, I feel like that's what we're accustomed to, just knowing that, oh, he's just gonna dunk. It's gonna be a 360. It's gonna be behind the back. It's gonna be jumping over this person. Like we saw Paolo jump over Shaq, and it's just kind of eh.
It seems like every year someone just dunks over Shaq at this point.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I mean, there's so much other ways to show basketball skill without dunking. You know what I mean? And that's why I think a game of horse would be so much fun to see, like what you can do that's skilled wise without having to dunk. I mean, you could even dunk in the game. But
Okay, can we talk about the 3-point contest with Steph and Sabrina? I want to see Steph and Clay against Sabrina and Caitlin Clark. I think that would be something to bring.
Next year, bring in Caitlin Clark.
I think
would be great.
I loved it. I love what I saw from the 3-point like the Steph versus Sabrina. It brings a lot more light to the WNBA because I feel like women's basketball as a whole is just gaining a lot more relevance. Like, it's been around for a long time, but I feel like these past 5 or so, 2-3 years have been incredible with ratings and stuff. Like, you have Caitlin Clark breaking the all-time women's college basketball record a couple weeks ago by taking a half-court shot, saying, "I wanted to take that half-court shot as the record-breaking shot." Like, a half-court shot, that's like the stuff that we would do to start a game of gotcha. And
All
it
right,
never
Brendan,
ends
I'm going to
in.
interrupt you right there. We have one more question we need to get to. So the actual game happened. This year they decided to revert back to the pre-2018 format, acting as a typical NBA game, playing 4 12-minute quarters instead of having a target score. Which format do y'all think works best for this sort of game?
I personally like the target score more. I think it makes it more competitive at the end of each quarter. I just got kind of bored watching. I mean, it's going to get boring when you're watching a bunch of all-stars. As sad as it is, it does get boring for 4 quarters. But it was cool to see the 200 points. I've never seen that before. Almost 400 total. So I liked that, but I want the target scores back.
Yeah. Same thing I think I said earlier is just go back to the old one. It just felt like I kind of turned it off after the 3rd quarter. Just after seeing 200 points, you just kind of
It got boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I saw the 200 points, there wasn't really any other reason to watch it. I think going to the target score would be a lot more fun to watch personally, and that kind of changed my mind this year.
And it
that
makes
I
them
want the
less
target score
lazy.
back. Yeah, definitely.
All right, you guys, we have reached the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us. We would love to have your guys' opinions on these hot takes.